Do you know how much we need the environment to provide for our lives and how much effort have we taken to protect it all this time? This is why we are all here to restore our long lost memories of how great environmental impact on our life. After this, it is hoped that we can all realize and change our habits of hurting the environment so that we can leave our inheritance to our children and grandchildren in the form of a healthy and beautiful environment. Our environment means our physical surroundings and the characteristic of the place in which we live. It is also refers to the wider natural world of land and sea and atmosphere. Humans have been interacting with their environment since people first walked to the earth. We need the environment just as the environment needs us. The symbiosis that should be created between us and the environment is a symbiosis of mutualism. But so far, what we can see is a symbiosis of parasitism. You're not believing it. Let's see what we have done to our environment. We still use air conditioner, we still use private vehicles to go anywhere, still use plastic, and many more. Even though we already know the issue that has been familiar to our ears, global warming. Many people who still do the habits can damage the environment either because they do not or they do not want to know it. So that's why the title of the speech today is The Most Dangerous Creature for the Environment is Human. Humans have changed most of the environment quickly by adding too much waste to it. How terrible humans are to the environment. Maybe if the environment could talk, he would have thrown a curse word a million times at us. Again, environmental damage is not a legacy for the future of our children and grandchildren. By realizing this immediately and begin to change, so the earth can recover and become a beautiful place to live for our children and grandchildren. This presentation is divided into four parts. They are environmental damage in the world, the impact of the environment damage, the preventive and the solutions, last but not least, the commitment. Now that you are aware of the overview, let's begin with the environmental damage in the world. Environmental damage has been felt in various places throughout the world. Based on the data from UnitedNations.org, indoor air pollution is responsible for 910,000 premature deaths every year in Africa. In Southeast Asia, the average area deforested annually is more than 1 million hectares, resulting in the release of hundreds of million tons of carbon dioxide every year. And an extreme climate change all around the world. By destroying the environment, it means that we also destroy our own lives. We always depend our life on the environment. Can you imagine if the environment is damaged? I can't even imagine it. People reaction also vary. There are still those who are indifferent. Some begin to make changes and some who want to make changes, but they are hampered by work that still requires them to do damage to the environment, such as mining, working in factories, and so on. Here, I will tell you one thing that is rarely known to people that could potentially damage the environment. I will give you a clue. It is delicious and it is the basic ingredient for making sausage. So, can you guess it? Yup, that's right. It's beef. You must be asking, how can eating a cow can be the same as damaging the environment? I will explain. Agriculture is responsible for 13 until 18% of human-caused greenhouse gas emission globally, and less in developed countries, like 3% in the USA. Fossil fuel can combustion for energy and transportation is responsible for approximately 64% percent of human caused greenhouse gas emission globally, and more in developed countries is 80% in the USA. The burning of fossil fuels for energy and animal agriculture are two of the biggest contributors to global warming, along with deforestation. Globally, fossil fuel based energy is responsible for about 64% of human greenhouse gas emissions, with deforestation at about 18% and animal agriculture between 13% and 18% estimated from the World Resources Institute UN Food and Agriculture Organization and Pitesky at 2009. Producing beef requires significantly more resources, land, fertilizer, and water than other sources of meat. As ruminant animal, cattle also produce methane that other sources like pigs and chicken they don't. And Asshole et al. 2014 estimating that producing beef requires 28 times more land and 6 times more fertilizer and 11 times more water than producing chicken. As a result, the study estimated that producing beef releases 4 times more greenhouse gases than a calorie equivalent amount of pork and 5 times as much as an equivalent amount of poultry. Eating vegetable produces lower greenhouse gas emission yet. For example, potatoes, rice, and broccoli produce approximately 3 until 5 times lower emission than a equivalent mass of poultry and pork, Environmentally Work Group 2011. The reason is simple. It is more efficient to grow a crop and eat it than to grow a crop, feed it to an animal, as it builds up muscle mass than eat the animal. The damage that we discussed earlier does lead to global warming. We all here know that the Earth is heating up and causing a polar ice to melt. Reporting from National Geographic, there are at least 5 million cubic miles of ice on this Earth. Experts believe that it takes 5,000 years to melt everything. But the process can be faster when carbon levels in the atmosphere increase. Have you ever thought that what would happen if the polar ice caps melt? Well, first, the Earth will get hotter. And second, the weather in the whole hemisphere is chaotic. And the third, many ancient viruses will spread. Fourth, polar animals will be endangered. And fifth, the plane in Florida, the United States, will sink. And the sixth is the Earth will experience a fairly large earthquake. Therefore, we must start thinking about preventive solution to all of these things. In this case, the parties that must be involved are family, educational institution, and government. Let's discuss them one by one. First is family, because the family is where the child first gets learning. If the initial foundation is not good about the environment, then the future of the child is embedded in him that protecting the environment is important. Second is educational institution. Because educational institution is the material about the environment can be included in the curriculum so the students not just learn about the academic but also learn on how to protect the environment and about the fact what happened with the environment nowadays so they can concern more about it. Last but not least, the government. The government must crack down on people who are trying to damage the environment. The government must strict regulation regarding this matter. Corresponding punishment for people who damage the environment should be same as committing genocide because by the act of damaging the environment it has killed many people. Okay, now we are on the last topic, the commitment. Commitment is needed in this case because to improve all of this cannot only be a day or a week or a year, but it takes many, many years. Therefore, a commitment is needed because if we only do it a week ago, then the result will not seen. By setting the commitments, all activities to improve environmental condition on this earth will becoming a habit that will be carried out continuously and consciously or unconsciously itself. By knowing how dangerous environmental damage is, it can increase our awareness of the environment so that you can create a sense of environmental love and awareness to look after it. Because this environmental damage has caused global warming, which has a negative impact on the whole world. For the whole world, I mean. Therefore, changes must be made and related parties that must be involved are the family, educational institution, and government. In the end, the action that we can do by ourselves are go green and buy projects that are environmentally friendly. Second, don't forget to reduce, reuse, and recycle. We must stop our habit of wastage. Let people know, share your views on the degradation that's happening and raise awareness. Every person you enlighten counts. Reports any kind of activity that degrades our environment, such as dumping waste in water bodies, burning of plastic, improper disposal of garbage, and the like. Plant trees wherever you can. More plants will mean more allies to absorb and deter the greenhouse effect. Do not buy products that are manufactured in a way that pollute and degrade the environment. There are so many little things that we can do to save our planet, our environment, ourselves. We must understand and let other people understand that the survival of our future generation depend on what we do now. Do your share. No effort is ever too small. So that's all from me. Thank you.